Hello everyone and welcome to another Wavelength series. My name is Waveney and I am your leadership mindset coach. I help leaders with self-leadership, emotional mastery and influence. Now, here's the multi-billion-dollar question, the question of the day. Are you ready to get on the same wavelength? Fabulous. Fabulous. Before we move on, I might be peering because I have on my glasses and I know the last time the light was in my eyes, so I'm trying not to have that this time. I think I've angled it. But yeah, let's get on the same wavelength. So, exciting things. If you are viewing this on Wednesday, March 11th, then this week would have been, this past Sunday, would have been March 8th, would have been celebrated, sorry, would have been celebrated as International Women's Day. And great news, I got the opportunity to deliver the keynote for the Department of Gender Affairs. I was super excited about that, and so I delivered that keynote. And that went really well. It was received well. I got lots of great compliments, and I'm really happy that I did it, right? No, because there's a tendency for persons to celebrate the entire month of March as Women's History Month. I think most people do that. And women are celebrated all month. I thought that in this episode, I would focus on International Women's Day and the theme. Now, the theme for this year, as per the International Women's Day website, is our organization was or is Give to Gain, right? And I really loved that theme, giving to gain, because in my mind, right, giving, when you give, you gain, and not just gain physical things or intangible physical things, but the gain I thought about is your legacy. When you give, there's always something. It's like the law of sowing and reaping, right? And so I really liked that theme. But tonight or today, what I'd like to speak to you about is a concept of giving, and sort of just have you think about the quality of your giving. This is it really. What is the quality of your giving? And so giving is much more than service, right? Giving is so much more than giving of your service. You can give your ideas, right? You can give emotional intelligence, you can give a listening ear, you can give perspective, you can give courage and challenge the status quo, or challenge the systems, or challenge things that need changing, right? You can give integrity and speak truth or shed the light when something isn't right. And so giving is so much more than just service. All right? And so I really want you to sit with that, think about it, because sometimes when we hear certain words, certain phrases like giving, we think of it as a tangible act, and many times we give intangible things, right? And so I want to challenge you, and even if you are male, you can walk away with this. As a woman, for other women, and also for others, genders, yeah, other genders are that sort of thing, that you give these things. You know, I really like International Women's Day, and I feel passionate about it because, and I'm digressing a bit before I go on into my into oops, what is this? I feel passionate. I'm reading from my iPad. My notes are on my iPad. I feel passionate about it because I feel like from what I've observed, every Women's Day, you see companies, they post pictures, they post stories, and sometimes that passion, that focus isn't pulled all the way through on the other days of the year, right? It isn't pulled all the way through. And this is something I spoke about in the speech I mentioned earlier, the keynote I gave. I challenged people to think. The topic of my speech was beyond the day. I challenged persons, and I'm going to challenge you to think beyond International Women's Day. Everybody wears purple, their pictures, their brunches, their workshops, and after that, then what? And so I feel like this focus on doing the right thing, on focusing on women, has to be something that is ingrained and is a part of the culture, especially in businesses, right? It has to be a part of the culture. It can't be just a one and done. And I think that many businesses do that. And there's so many opportunities throughout the year for one to do better. And even for us as women to help other women along, to support them. I know that, you know, in my 9 to 5 role, I do that a lot. I've done that in the past. I champion all people, right? Everyone, and I champion women, and where I can help and assist, I do that because I could remember where there were times growing up in my career, women were the ones who stopped me. I remember one time, and I know I might be going off, you know, I haven't gotten into what I wanted to say. Where are my notes? Anyway, I remember that there was this one time I had applied for my boss at the time was leaving, and I had applied for the role. And truth be told, I wasn't going to apply for the role because I felt like they weren't going to give it to me. I just instinctively knew that I wasn't going to be considered. But a friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine, who really she was like a mentor to me, and also a friend. She said, no, Wave, you have to apply, you have to. I'm like, why do I have to apply? Because I don't think that they're going to give me the job. And then she was like, Wave, then let them tell you what you need to work on, right? And that was a new concept for me, because who likes to know that they don't get a job, or who likes to hear no, right? Or some type of rejection, which was my mindset at the time. My mindset has since changed. I believe that what is for me will find me, that I prepare, and if it's a no, there's a lesson in that no, and that is God redirecting me. And that's my mindset now, but it wasn't that way back then. And I remembered applying for that role, and then I was called to the general manager's office at the time, and she was sitting there, and she was so uncomfortable, my boss. And I remember that person saying, well, I've never worked with you. I don't, I don't know anything about you. I don't know how you worked, da da da, da da da, da da da. And she was just sitting there. And, later on, when she had left, I said, okay, fine. And she left. And for 8 months, I did her job without pay. I didn't even get, I shouldn't say I didn't get thanks. I got a thank you, right? But no monetary compensation. And which is why when people are going through certain things and they're telling me certain things, I could feel them 100%. But during those 8 months, I did the job to the best of my ability. I threw that behind me. I don't know if I was disappointed. I don't think I was disappointed, but I picked up that she was behind that, right? She was also behind that decision. Like, she didn't champion me, she didn't support me. They couldn't really tell me anything that I needed to work on, other than he hadn't worked with me, he doesn't know, blah, blah, blah. And I remembered some point in the journey, he said, I don't understand why they didn't want me to give you that job, her and the regional team. I don't understand. You're doing such a fantastic job, da 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 da. But he's the general manager. He could have made that decision. And so I always vowed to be, not to be the type of leader to hold people back. If I could encourage someone, if I could offer a resource, if I could give them coaching on the spot, I would do that. I always remember the things that I went through, the persons who hold me back, what was done to me, and I vowed never to be that person. I remembered one time I had a conversation with two ladies that I led. And I said to them, when I became a director, and I said to them, I must, whenever I leave here, you must be in a better position. If I leave or you decide to leave, you must be placed in a better position so that you can go out and get even a higher position or higher level of earning, right? And that is my mindset. So this is something I truly believe in. What I don't believe in is casting my pearls before swine. As the Bible says, I am not going to give my energy to someone who doesn't need it, who isn't ready to receive the message, right? And that's another thing I want to share. Sometimes we want to help people, and we try and we could see the potential, but they don't want to be helped. They're not ready to acknowledge and take accountability. And that is what the Bible meant by casting pearls before swine. Anyway, I went off on a whole tangent. I don't know if all my notes got copied over, but bear with me as I bring up what I wanted to, as I access my notes. And I hope that what I just said has helped somebody. I hope it has helped you. Give me one moment while I access my notes. I don't know why I didn't copy it over. It doesn't look that way. Okay, it did copy it over. Anyway, it did copy over. So, so there are 3 forms. Okay, it did copy over. Okay, it looks weird. There are 3 forms of giving. Back to my original conversation. There are 3. So giving isn't just service. So there are 3 forms of giving that you could bring from a leadership. When we look at it from a leadership lens, and as women in the workplace, as women helping other women, and even ourselves, because what I'm about to share will build you all up, and it will build your competence and confidence. So one is the giving of your voice, the giving of your voice. And one huge way in which to do this is speaking up when something isn't right. Speaking up when something isn't right. And this requires courage. What I have found, and many of you know that I have an HR background, right? And if you don't know, I have an HR background. I'm a senior HR professional. I've been doing HR for, I think it may be 20 or 21 years, right? This year. One of the things that I've found in the workplace is people don't speak up. They don't like confrontation. Well, they see speaking up, they see giving what you may call constructive feedback, but feedback as something uncomfortable, and so they don't want to do it. But sometimes the best thing that you could do is giving your voice. Your voice needs to be heard. And the way that you can do it is start small. So if you're looking at this and you are someone who you're not comfortable speaking up, then this is something that you can learn. It's a muscle. Let me see the time. It's a muscle that you develop. If you had told me 5 years ago, it's 5 years, no, 8 years ago, when I started the People's Brand, that I would be here. Even when I started the People's Brand 8 years ago, 8 or 9, whatever, years ago, when I started the People's Brand, that I would be so comfortable speaking or even giving that keynote, I would be like, I don't see it. Or things that I have had to do in my 9 to 5, I've had to speak up even when it wasn't popular, and so you can speak up, right? So especially when something isn't right, don't just sit there, right? Don't just sit there and allow it to pass, especially if it's about another woman, especially if it's helping another woman, especially it doesn't even have to be a female or a woman in the workplace. It could be a male, it could be about a situation, but the giving of your voice. Okay. Number 2 is the giving of your perspective. Women have very unique perspective, and also because of our experiences and our uniqueness, we have very different approaches. Approaches? That's a word? Anyway, approach to things. And just give me a second. Okay, something is missing from my notes. So we may see certain dynamics, certain things that people have missed, and so giving our perspective will give the whole context. So many times I've sat in board meetings and leadership committee meetings, and I've shared my concerns, I've spoken up, I gave my perspective, and you can see people nodding, you can see people saying, Wave, hear people saying that, Wave, I hadn't thought of it that way. Don't discount your voice because you're a woman. Earlier on in my career, when I got in my director's role, I knew that there were some persons, when I got promoted on the team, they didn't want me there. They didn't want me there. But I persisted anyway. And so if you're someone, if you're female, if you're a woman, and you are on a team, maybe you are on a team with all males, or maybe you are a different nationality, or it doesn't even matter if it's a different nationality, but you're a woman and you're in a space that may be unfamiliar, you're new to it, don't be afraid to share your unique perspective, right? Sometimes I have to navigate situations where My perspective isn't popular. We're speaking up, as I said before, isn't popular. We're I am not sure that what I've said will be received or will be like my idea will be taken on board. It doesn't really matter to me. I speak anyway. If I feel led to speak, if I'm convicted to share my perspective, I do so, right? And what this builds for you as a woman is courage. It builds bravery. It builds confidence. It also is a strategy because then, based on the reactions, you understand how people take your words, right? Or how people view you. And that's important to know, right? That's important to know. And as women as well, we, we see things, most of us see things through an emotional lens. So decisions could be made. I've certainly been in situations where men have decided they're taking this decision, and I lend a perspective. Like, I sense that this will not be the best. And I share, well, how about this way? And over time, I've learned to polish, right? Because I wasn't as polished in those spaces. And what I mean by it is that I've learned how to not just blurt out my perspective. So I've had to learn to use words that were a bit softer. And this is a whole different conversation because it's also navigating the political spaces at work. Even though one of these days I should do an episode on that. One of these days I will do an episode on navigating the political landscape at work because, I've never worked for government, but each organization, there's an element of politics. There's an element of power. And so, yeah. Anyway, so give up your voice. Use your voice, right, to speak up when something isn't right. Give up your perspective. It is needed. And giving your perspective, you're not there. Like, some people get upset because their ideas aren't taken on board. Sometimes you need to say what you need to say and let it land and let because they can't unhear what they've just heard. You saying whatever will plant the seed, and sometimes that's just what you need to do. Anyway, this is turning into a whole different episode, but I'm hoping that you enjoy it. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. Send me a DM if you're enjoying it. 663. What is my? I don't know. I'll link it below. My WhatsApp. Can't even remember. Anyway, the last thing that I'd like for you to think about, and this is a huge value of mine, is the giving of your integrity, holding the line. And I've certainly had to do that in being in HR, speaking up and holding the line when people want to take shortcuts. I can tell you it's not popular. You're not going to be popular when you do that. But integrity is a value that should be in the top 3, if not the top 5 of any leader who is an influential leader, right? And it is an uncomfortable gift, and sometimes it is the most uncomfortable gift you could bring into the room, but it's needed. Because at the end of the day, like, when I look back on my career, when I look back on we have worked, am I perfect? I'm not perfect. You are not perfect. But did I do my best? Can I sleep at nights? Did I do the right thing? Did I speak, even if it was out of my control? Did I say something? Yes, I did. I used my voice. And so give integrity. Tell people the truth. tell people the truth, right? Because at the end of the day, some people don't like the truth, but we're not here to talk about that. At the end of the day, whether they like it or not, you are developing credibility. You will be known for, hey, this is somebody that they're going to be honest. They're going to tell it as it is. I like those type of persons. I don't have to agree with them all the time, but I can deal with someone like that, right? And then just to share where sometimes giving is misinterpreted. Like sometimes truth is interpreted as confrontation. And this happens because persons are not, they have low emotional intelligence, they have not done the work on themselves, and so when you speak the truth, they can't handle the truth. And it is interpreted as confrontations. Sometimes boundaries are interpreted as attitude. Last night I had a client and we were talking, and I might have to wrap this up really quickly because my camera is blinking, it's on red. I had a client and she was sharing, she's very direct and she speaks the truth, and she was sharing with me how she had an employee that she was disciplining, and she was sharing the seriousness of what that person had done, and that person didn't like, the feedback was, well, oh, I didn't like how they spoke to me. And she's also a person that has clear boundaries, very, very clear boundaries. But people don't like when you have clear boundaries. And I feel like as a leader, you need to have very defined boundaries. As you grow in your leadership, you need that. You need that to protect you, to protect your integrity and to protect your access and to protect you. But boundaries are important, right? You need to protect your mental health, your emotional health, and all of that. And then sometimes confidence is interpreted as arrogance. I know certainly when I was a bit younger, there were persons that I saw and I thought they were boasting, but they were quite comfortable in their skin. They didn't need to be validated by anyone. And so sometimes giving is misinterpreted, but do you and do what is right. And so the question is, what is the quality of your giving? Are you giving your voice? Are you giving your wisdom? Are you giving your courage? Are you giving silence to keep the peace? What is the quality of your giving? Think about that, reflect on that, and happy International Women's Day.